Harlan Pike could hear the lawyer dividing his empire before his heart stopped beating. The machines beeped steady in the private room at Lenox Hill Hospital. Manhattan glowed through the window, 40 stories of steel and glass he'd financed with a single phone call 3 years ago. His body lay motionless under white sheets that cost more than most people earned in a month. Eyes closed, breath shallow. The doctors called it traumatic brain injury with minimal responsiveness. They were wrong. Harlan heard everything. The accident replayed in fragments. Park Avenue at dusk. Brake lights. The delivery truck running red. Glass exploding. Then darkness that wasn't really darkness at all, just a decision he made somewhere between the impact and the ambulance. A choice to stay silent, to disappear while still breathing. His attorney, Monica Reeves, stood at the foot of the bed speaking into her phone like he was already buried. The voting shares transfer to the advisory board if he's incapacitated beyond 90 days, she said, voice flat, efficient. We'll need neurology to confirm cognitive function by week's end, or we move to contingency protocols. Contingency protocols. That's what 52 years of building became the moment you couldn't sign your name. 2 executives entered next. Harlan recognized their footsteps. Vaughn Mercer walked heavy, expensive shoes on marble. Elliot Crane moved lighter, quicker, always positioning himself closer to power. How long do we wait? Vaughn asked, not bothering to lower his voice. Depends on the scans, Monica replied. But the board won't tolerate limbo. Markets hate uncertainty. Markets hate weakness, Elliot corrected. If he wakes up diminished, that's worse than not waking up at all. Silence filled the space where objection should have been. Harlan felt his pulse spike, but the machines didn't register enough to matter. He'd spent decades teaching people like Elliot how to think in quarters, how to cut losses, how to value efficiency over sentiment. Now he was the loss being calculated. Hi, friend. Before we continue the story, kindly tell us where are you watching from? And hit that subscribe button now for you to get more. And I have something new for you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thanks, let's continue. What about the family? Vaughn asked. Monica laughed once, sharp. His ex-wife is in the Hamptons with her trainer. The daughter hasn't returned calls. His brother asked about the will before asking about brain function. The brother. Harlan's chest tightened. Then we're clear, Vaughn said. If Pike wakes up, he wakes up. If not, we execute transition Thursday and announce Friday before markets open. Clean. Controlled. They left together, already talking about which reporters to call first. The room fell quiet except for the machines and the city below that never stopped moving, never stopped demanding, never noticed when one man disappeared from the center of it all. Harlan had built Pike Meridian Holdings from a single real estate deal in Brooklyn 28 years ago. He'd survived recessions, hostile takeovers, federal investigations, and 3 marriages. He'd believed that power insulated you from abandonment. That success built loyalty. The first night alone taught him the truth. Power didn't make you loved. It made you useful. And the second you stopped being useful, the performance ended. A nurse came in to check vitals, humming something soft under her breath. She adjusted the 4 without looking at his face, like he was furniture. When she left, Harlan was alone again with the beeping and the silence, and the growing understanding that everything he'd built was a framework designed to function without him. He'd wanted efficiency. Now he was experiencing it. Somewhere down the hall, a cart rattled. What will Harlan discover next as the people around him reveal their true intentions? The visitors kept coming like vultures circling something not quite dead. Harlan's cousin appeared on day 2 wearing black already, asking the nurse about cremation versus burial before asking about recovery odds. A reporter from the Wall Street Journal tried entering with a press badge, got removed, then sent flowers with a card that read, hoping for clarity soon, which everyone understood meant hoping for a headline. The executives returned in rotating shifts, performing concern in the doorway, strategy in the hallway. If he regains function but not capacity, we'll need conservatorship papers ready, someone said outside the room, voice muffled but clear enough. If he regains function but not capacity, like he was machinery with parts that might work separately but not together. Harlan learned quickly how people spoke when they thought you were gone. Not just what they said, but how they said it. The tone. The shortcuts, the relieved exhales when they thought the hard part was over. His daughter finally called. The nurse put her on speaker, probably against protocol, but Harlan heard everything. Is he suffering? She asked. No signs of pain, the nurse answered gently. Good. That's good. A pause that stretched too long. I'm in London through next week. Work thing. Can't really get away right now, but tell him I'm thinking about him. She hung up before the nurse could respond. Harlan felt something crack that wasn't bone. He'd missed her 8th grade graduation for a merger in Seattle, her college acceptance dinner for a crisis meeting in Dallas, her wedding entirely because he stopped inviting him after he forgot to show up for the engagement party. Now she was in London and he was reduced to something people thought about between conference calls. The machines beeped. The city hummed. And Harlan Pike, who'd once made senators wait in lobbies, lay perfectly still while his life divided itself without him. Then on the 3rd night, something changed. The sound came first. A cart rattling down the hallway, wheels slightly uneven, metal on tile. It stopped outside the door. Harlan heard someone humming low, a melody he didn't recognize. The door opened. Footsteps entered. Not the sharp click of dress shoes or the soft pad of nurse sneakers. Work boots. Slow. Deliberate. The man moved around the room without speaking. Harlan heard water running, the swish of a mop, the quiet efficiency of someone who'd cleaned 1,000 rooms exactly like this one. Then the man stopped. I don't know if you can hear me. The voice said, low and steady, textured with something Harlan couldn't name yet. But I'm going to talk anyway. Harlan's pulse jumped. The machines noticed this time. A soft beep, slightly faster. The man paused like he heard it too, then continued. My name's Desmond Cole. I work nights. Facilities. Facilities. The word people used when they didn't want to say janitor. They asked me to clean in here, Desmond said, moving closer. Usually I don't talk in rooms like this. People think it's disrespectful or something. But I figure if you're in there somewhere, maybe you're tired of the quiet. Harlan felt his breathing shift. You built half this city, Desmond continued, wringing the mop slowly. People say that like it means everything. He paused. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. The mop bucket rattled as Desmond moved it aside. I got a daughter, he said quietly. 7 years old. Name's Irie. Smartest kid I ever met. And I'm not just saying that because I'm her dad. His voice softened. She asked me last week why rich people never smile in photos. I told her maybe they're tired. Desmond moved to the window, looking out at the city Harlan built. Truth is, he said, I think some of them are scared. That word landed like a fist. Scared. What does a janitor see that billion-dollar executives miss? Desmond didn't leave after finishing the floor. He pulled up the chair meant for family and sat like he had permission, like Harlan was someone worth sitting with instead of someone worth discussing in hallways. Irie's learning to read chapter books now, Desmond said, elbows on his knees, hands folded. She picks the hardest ones on purpose. Last week she chose something about ancient Egypt. Got through 5 pages, didn't understand half of it, but she kept going anyway. He smiled. Harlan could hear it in his voice. I asked her why she doesn't pick easier books. You know what she said? Desmond leaned back. She said easy books don't teach you nothing. The machines beeped steady. That's how she talks. 7 years old, correcting my grammar, asking questions I don't have answers for. Desmond's voice dropped. Last month, she asked why we can't afford the field trip to the Science Museum. $35. I'm working 60-hour weeks and $35 is the difference between her going or staying behind. He stood, moved to adjust the blanket that didn't need adjusting. I told her we'd go on our own. On Sunday. Just us. A pause. She said it's okay, Dad. She knows I'm trying. Harlan felt something tighten in his chest that had nothing to do with the accident. You know what that does to you? Desmond asked quietly. When your kid has to know you're trying instead of just living? He walked back to the mop bucket, but didn't pick it up. I clean hospitals, office buildings, places where people make decisions about millions of dollars. I hear them talking sometimes. Talking about markets, about growth, about maximizing value. Desmond looked at Harlan's still face. Nobody ever talks about time. About being there when your kid learns to read. About knowing their voice better than you know your own tiredness. He picked up the mop handle. I don't envy you, Desmond said, and it didn't sound like a lie. People think I should. Poor man looking at the rich man in the bed. But I got something you can't buy. Harlan waited. I got enough time to matter to one person completely. The words hung in the air like smoke. Irie knows my voice. Knows my hands. Knows when I'm tired I still read to her anyway, because that's the only hour in the day that's just ours. Desmond moved toward the door. Money can't buy that back once it's gone, he said. And it goes fast. Faster than you think. He paused at the threshold. I see people in rooms like this all the time. Important people. Successful people. And you know what I notice? Desmond turned back. They're always alone. The door closed softly behind him. Harlan lay in the silence, trying to remember the last time his daughter said his name without distance in her voice. The last time anyone sat with him without checking their phone. The last time being present mattered more than being powerful. He couldn't. The memories were there, but they felt like someone else's life, like a script he'd followed without questioning whether the lines made sense. Outside the window, Manhattan glowed. Millions of people stacked in buildings he'd financed, living lives he'd never touched, making meaning in ways his spreadsheets never measured. For the first time in 30 years, Harlan Pike felt poor. Not financially, existentially. But Desmond's visits are about to be cut short, and the reason
Desmond
why will
came
break
back the
everything
next night,
Harlan thought
and the
he
night
understood.
after that.
Not because anyone assigned him, because he chose to. Irene made honor roll, he said on the fourth visit, pride thick in his voice. All A's except one B in math. She cried about the B. I told her B stands for beautiful, and she rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd stick. He laughed quietly. She's tough. Has to be. Learns it from watching me work 3 jobs and still show up to her school plays. Desmond moved around the room slower now, like he wasn't in a rush to leave. Her teacher told me Irene shares her lunch with a kid whose parents can't afford the meal plan. Every day, gives half her sandwich away without being asked. His voice caught. I asked her why she didn't tell me. She said some things you just do because it's right. Harlan's chest ached. 7 years old, and she's already better than most grown people I know. Desmond sat in the chair again. You got kids? He asked, then corrected himself. I mean, I know you probably do. Rich guy like you. Just wondering if you know their voices. If you could pick them out in a crowd just by how they laugh. Silence answered him. I can't, Desmond said. I know Irene's laugh from 3 rooms away. Know when she's pretending to be happy and when it's real. Know the difference between tired and sad, even when she tries to hide it. He leaned forward. That's wealth, man. Knowing someone that deep. Being known back. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. I won't lie to you, Desmond continued. It's hard. Being broke and black and watching people look through you like you're not there. Watching your kid realize the world's not fair before she's old enough to understand why. His hands clasped together. But I want enough. Not everything. Just enough. Enough time with her. Enough presence. Enough so when she's grown and thinking about her childhood, she remembers my voice more than my absence. That line hit Harlan like voltage. My voice more than my absence. That's all I want, Desmond said quietly. To be remembered for being there. He stood, stretched his back. They're transferring me next week. Different wing. Different shift. Budget cuts or something. Means I won't be back in this room. Harlan's pulse jumped. The machines registered it. Desmond noticed, smiled sadly. I'm gonna miss these talks, he said. Even if you can't hear me, it helped. Saying things out loud. Remembering what matters. He moved to the door. I hope you wake up, Desmond said. And I hope when you do, you remember that being powerful and being present are 2 different things. He paused. One lasts. One doesn't. The door opened. My daughter asks about you sometimes, Desmond added. The man in the room I clean. I told her you're probably dreaming. She said she hopes they're good dreams. He smiled. Me too. The door closed. Harlan felt something breaking inside that had nothing to do with the accident. Something he'd built carefully over decades to protect himself from exactly this kind of feeling. It broke anyway. Just when Harlan realizes what truly matters, the executives make a move that will erase Desmond from his life forever. Vaughn Mercer stood outside the room 2 days later, arms crossed, jaw tight. Why is facility staff spending extended time in here? He asked the head nurse. She looked up from her chart. Desmond? He's just cleaning. For 20 minutes at a time? The nurse hesitated. He talks to the patients sometimes. It's harmless. Vaughn's eyes narrowed. Nothing is harmless. Transfer him. Different floor. Tonight. Sir, I don't have authority to. Then find someone who does. He walked away before she could respond. That night, Desmond didn't come. The next night, silence. On the 3rd night, the door opened and Desmond entered one last time, moving slower, shoulders heavy. They moved me, he said quietly. Different wing. Different shift. I won't be back. Harlan's heart rate spiked. The machine screamed. Nurses rushed in, checked monitors, adjusted 4 lines. Vitals are elevated, one said. Possible awareness response. They left as quickly as they came. Desmond stood frozen, staring at the machines still beeping faster than before. You can hear me, he whispered. Harlan's pulse hammered. You've been hearing everything. The realization settled over Desmond's face like grief. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry you had to hear all of it. The vultures. The people treating you like you're already gone. He moved closer. But I meant what I said. About presence. About time. About what really matters when everything else falls away. The machines calmed slightly but stayed elevated. I gotta go, Desmond said, voice breaking. But wherever you are in there, don't waste whatever time you got left being afraid of the wrong things. He turned toward the door. Stopped. My daughter's in pediatric oncology, he said without turning around. 4th floor. Has been for 2 years. That's why I work nights. So I can be there during the day when she's awake. Harlan's world tilted. Stage 3 leukemia. Treatment's working, but it's slow. Expensive. I'll be paying it off until she's 30, but I don't care because she'll be alive to see 30. Desmond's shoulders shook once. I never asked you for nothing. Never will. Just wanted you to know that while you're lying here thinking you lost everything, some of us are fighting just to keep what we got. He opened the door. I hope you wake up. I really do. The door closed. And Harlan Pike, who'd built an empire on leverage and power and calculated risk, finally understood the only thing that mattered. What Harlan does next will redefine everything he thought he knew about wealth. The nurse's voice cut through the silence the next morning. That janitor's daughter, Irene Cole, she said while checking the floor, talking to another nurse like Harlan wasn't there. Sweet kid. She's been in pediatric oncology for 2 years now. 4th floor. Her dad works 3 jobs just to cover what insurance won't. Harlan's breathing stopped. He donated plasma last month to pay for her medication. Can you imagine? The other nurse sighed. Some people have it hard. They left. Harlan's mind raced backward, tearing through memories he'd buried under decades of deals and acquisitions. 5 years ago, a tax settlement. His lawyers suggested an anonymous donation to a pediatric wing renovation to offset negative press from a federal investigation. He never asked questions, never followed up, just signed the papers and moved on. The donation went to Lenox Hill. 4th floor. Pediatric oncology. Desmond's daughter had been surviving inside a system Harlan funded without knowing it. Treatment paid for by money that came from a man who never cared enough to see where it went, who never asked whose life it touched. The machines beeped faster. Wealth had circled back on itself, invisible and incomplete, helping someone who would never know the source and never asked for the help. Harlan had spent 52 years measuring success in acquisitions and profit margins and board seats. He'd built monuments to efficiency. Now he understood he'd built nothing that mattered to anyone who mattered. What Harlan does next will shock everyone who thought they knew him. Harlan Pike opened his eyes at 6:43 the next morning. The neurologist stumbled backward. 2 nurses rushed in. Machines erupted in competing beeps. Someone shouted for the attending physician. Harlan's vision blurred then sharpened. He saw white ceiling tiles, fluorescent lights, faces hovering over him like he'd returned from the dead. Mr. Pike, can you hear me? The doctor asked, shining a light in his eyes. Harlan's throat burned. His voice came out cracked, broken. Desmond Cole, he said. The doctor blinked. I'm sorry, where is Desmond Cole? They looked at each other, confused. The man who works facilities. Harlan pushed harder despite the pain. Night shift. Find him. A nurse left quickly. Vaughn Mercer appeared in the doorway within an hour, suit perfect, expression carefully neutral. Harlan, thank God you're. Get out, Harlan said. Vaughn froze. Leave. Now. Before I have security remove you. The billionaire everyone thought was unconscious just fired his entire executive team, but what he says to Desmond will change everything. Desmond entered the room 30 minutes later, uniform wrinkled, confusion written across his face. Harlan was sitting up now, oxygen tubes removed, eyes clear. They said you asked for me, Desmond said carefully. I heard everything, Harlan replied, voice still rough but steady. Every word. From the first night. Desmond's face went pale. I heard the executives dividing my company. My family asking about the will. Everyone treating me like I was already gone. He paused. And I heard you. Silence stretched between them. I heard you talk about Irene. About being there. About wanting enough instead of everything. Desmond stood frozen. I've never been as poor as I was before I heard you speak. The truth Harlan discovers about his anonymous donation will rewrite both their futures forever. Harlan's lawyers arrived that afternoon with documents already prepared. He restructured Pike Meridian Holdings in 4 hours, removing Vaughn and Elliott from all board positions, installing independent oversight, redirecting profit-sharing models toward employee equity. Then he did something no one expected. He established a trust, fully funded, dedicated entirely to pediatric oncology treatment at Lenox Hill Hospital, 4th floor, with one condition. Every family would be covered. No questions asked. No debt incurred. And Desmond Cole's daughter would never see another medical bill. When Desmond found out, he couldn't speak. Harlan looked at him from the hospital bed. "You taught me what wealth actually means," Harlan said quietly. "Now let me use mine correctly. The final truth about power, presence, and what really matters when everything else falls away." 3 months later, Harlan Pike sat in the pediatric oncology ward reading to Irene Cole while Desmond worked his shift upstairs. She laughed at the voices he made for different characters, corrected his pronunciation, asked questions he didn't always know how to answer. Harlan had sold 2 properties in the Hamptons, restructured his foundation, and started showing up to places that didn't have his name on the building. He learned Irene's laugh, learned Desmond's coffee order, learned that being present required more courage than being powerful ever did. The executives called him soft. The board called him compromised. Harlan called it the first real thing he'd built in 30 years. Because power without presence is just noise. And he'd finally learned to listen. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story that will inspire you to see the world differently. We have something powerful coming next that you won't want to miss. Thank you for watching. And remember, the richest people aren't those who have the most, but those who need the least.